Everybody, how's it going? This is Delirious Vicious here you guys with yet another build video. So this is the new year, and I hope you guys all had a great new year. I know I did. So with this build video, it's a little bit different than the my original build video from the Markarth patch. Um, I'm using completely different sets, completely different toolkit, for the most part. With this build, it has a lot of survivability, a lot of sustain, and the damage is definitely there. It's definitely not lacking in damage, that's for sure. I can guarantee you that. Um, you can reach some ridiculously high recovery stats with this build. I was hesitant on showing this build to anyone because it honestly is a little broken. Like EV levels of broken. However, cat's out of the bag. One of the sets used for this build is already starting to gain a little bit of popularity, and people are slowly learning that this set's really good. So, I figured might as well show you guys what I'm running on this build. I'm still running my old Reman's Champion build, but I do alternate from time to time. But I don't have a whole lot of footage with the build because the build is incomplete. Well, it was incomplete until now. The only thing I have to do now at this point is just transmute some jewelry, but it's complete enough where I can definitely make a build video, show you guys how to run it, how it works, and I can break it down for you guys. How the stats work, how it all comes together. With that being said, obviously feel free to like, comment, and if you enjoy my content, subscribe. Every subscription means a lot to me, and it definitely helps the channel grow and expand. And obviously, if you have any suggestions, any kind of commentary, or any kind of feedback, do feel free to put that down in the comments. And with that being said, let's get started. Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Delirious Vicious once again with my latest build video. So, with this build, it has a lot of healing potential, mostly due to the sustain that it does offer. The damage is also quite respectable. The build is not complete, so some of the traits here that I'll show you guys when I'm showing you guys my gear and stuff, it's not yet complete. Some of the stuff there's out of date. Some of this gear is back from when I ran like old builds back in the day, but but obviously I'll be covering that with you guys. So just a quick disclaimer here, guys. This build is honestly, this is one of the few builds that I will show you guys that is very meta-like. It's one of my more. This is one of my more meta-based builds. The thing with the current state of the game, it's either you're running procs or you're running like a ridiculous amount of sustain. My build falls under the latter. It offers a lot of recoveries, more specifically on health recovery. You can actually achieve 5k plus health recovery with this build, and it is ridiculously strong. I was very hesitant on showing this build to anybody. The reason for that being is that it is very strong. It is honestly broken. Honestly, is a very broken build. But the thing is that the one of the sets that allows this build to be very strong is starting to be used a lot more by other players. So the set is honestly going to become a lot more popular, so might as well just make a build video out of it, because it is a really good build, very strong build. It definitely shines when you're solo, or when you're solo PvPing, and more specifically 1vx, because it just lets you take a lot of damage, take a lot of punishment, and even from procs, and it just survives really well with the current state of the game. So I don't want to deny you guys this build. With that being said, let's get started. So we're gonna go ahead and look at the current stats of the build. I am running 17k max magicka, about 21.7k max health outside of Cyrodiil. That is in Cyrodiil. It does go up to about 28k. Now the max stam is pretty high, but that's because, like I mentioned, some of my traits aren't necessarily transmuted yet. So the max stam is going to be a little bit lower. It's going to be about 30 and some change, or 31k even. The recoveries under the build are also pretty solid. You got a little over 800 magicka recovery, about 1600 health recovery, and the stam recovery is also pretty good. It's definitely a pretty solid build, gives you a lot of sustain. So like pretty much 1000 magicka, 16 plus health recovery, and 1100 plus stam recovery. Damage is at 3k weapon damage. 3k weapon damage, but that is going to go up to about 33, 34 once I get all my gear corrected. The resistances are a bit on the lower end, with about 15k each. The crit resistances is a little high, it's at about 3.1k, but that's gonna drop down a little bit once I transmute some of my gear. Like I said, build's not yet complete. It is still a work in progress, but it is complete enough where I can show you guys what I'm running. So speaking of what I'm running, it is a 5 medium build, and for my Mundus Stone I'm running the Warrior. So running 5 medium definitely boost the weapon damage that I received from that Mundus Stone, as well as being a Templar and what have you. I am running Bewitched Sugar Skulls as my main food buff. If you want extra stam recovery, you could always run Artaeum. And there's also other alternatives, but either Artaeum or Sugar Skulls will work best with this build. I just prefer Sugar Skulls because it does give me a lot more health and a lot more magicka, which lets me use my extended ritual a lot more, as well as a couple other skills that I do run under my toolkit. I do have minor fortitude, endurance, and intellect because I am running repentance on my front bar. I am running repentance on my front bar more for the just to demonstrate how high your sustain can get under this build. Speaking of sustain and the build, let's get started with our gear. My first set is 7th Legion. The traits on my jewelry is out of date. They will be triple reinfused. Right now they are triple robust. Now the thing with 7th Legion, for those of you who don't know, it does give you health recovery as well as weapon damage now. Weapon damage isn't as high as it used to be, but however, the health recovery that you do receive from this set is very potent, and it just gives you a lot of upfront health recovery, and it's easy access as well. All you need to do is use a skill that increases your resistances, and you're pretty much good to go. It'll give you the health recovery and the weapon damage in the last 15 seconds, so the uptime on this can be very, 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 very high. All it depends on is the user's ability to maintain their buffs, most importantly their resistance buff. So this set definitely rewards you. Like I mentioned, I am running Restoring Focus. You need to run a skill that directly increases your resistances. So that's why 7th Legion doesn't really work with something like a Stamblade. The reason why a Stamblade wouldn't really run 7th Legion, or it'd be very hard to run it, is its main source of major resolve comes from using shadow-based skills. There is a skill under Assassination, or more specifically, that gives you minor resolve, but you have to run that in order to run 7th Legion. So a lot of Stamblades don't really see the worth in 7th Legion on that class, but it's doable. Every other class has their source of major resolve, so you can run it on any Stam class pretty much, with the exception of Stamblade. Like I mentioned, you could do it, but you know, you do give up a skill just to run it. As for my weapon, I am running two-hand front bar, sword and board back bar. With my two-handed, I am running 7 Legion Maul, and it's a sharpened Maul. I used to run Nernhoned all the time, and I was running an axe for a bit during the patch. But as a few of my friends, they were telling me that two-handed Maul sharpened is best in slot, and I've become a believer. I've definitely grown to enjoy 2H Maul sharpened. Now as for my back bar, I am running Master Sword and Board, which gives me extra resistances based on how much I heal from the puncture. And the traits are a little messed up too, by the way. I am planning on running a defending trait on the sword, as well as a reinforced on the shield. When you receive the Master Shield, you do receive a tri-stack glyph. I highly recommend switching it over to Stamina or Magicka, whichever, either or. The reason why I recommend doing this is because running a tri-stack glyph on your shield can cause a health desync issue out there in open world, because you do get a little bit of health on your back bar, and there are times where it can get you killed, because when you switch over to your front bar, you'll have no health besides that health from the tri-stack glyph, so it can cause a bit of a issue there. So I definitely recommend switching that glyph out. Also, for those of you who don't know, I am running Imperial on this class. You could run Nord. Nord is best in slot. I just personally like Imperial because I am a role player. But also the sustain that Imperial does offer is very underrated. 3% cost reduction for Stam, Magicka, and Ultimate skills. It really does come in handy with sustaining, especially with a build like this where you have a lot of sustain just built in. Now for the last two sets that pretty much bring this entire build and puts it all together. So it's Willow's Path. So why Willow's Path? Why not Eternal Vigor? So the reason I run Willow's Path, and the reason why a lot of people are starting to run this over Eternal Vigor. Yes, Eternal Vigor gives you 1,000 health recovery when you're low health. However, this gives you it gives you 100% uptime on all your sustain. It also allows you to wear 5 light on Magicka and 5 medium on stamina. Especially if you're running like a heavy armor damage set, it definitely doesn't make you sacrifice that damage. Running 5 medium, I get 15% extra weapon damage, so it allows me to maintain that really high upfront weapon damage while running a lot of sustain. If I was running Eternal Vigor with 7 Legion, I'd be running 5 heavy, which I'm not. I honestly don't think 5 heavy is good on Templar. I mean, it is good, but I just don't like running it. In my opinion, medium armor is the best and most optimal armor type for Templars. It just stacks up a lot of weapon damage from the class, from running Fighter's Guild, and then the 15%. Just get a lot of upfront damage. It lets you sustain really well, and you just do a whole lot of damage. Traits are a little jacked up, by the way. I am running some Inpen, but I am running Reinforced in the big pieces, and I will be switching the Willow's Path small pieces over to Well Fitted. Now moving on to my monster set, which is Troll King. Troll King benefits from Willow's Path whenever it's procced, so it allows me to reach insane amounts of health recovery, which that's not really the impressive part. Stacking health recovery is relatively easy, but only if you're wearing heavy armor for the most part. But with this build, I'm able to maintain my 5 medium and achieve heavy armor levels of health recovery without sacrificing any of my damage. That's why I'm a big fan of Willow's Path. It's definitely helping me a lot with my sustain and my survivability. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and move on to our bar setup. So we're going to go ahead and start off with our front bar here, which is our 2H bar. I am running Rally. Rally gives me my Major Brutality, which is 20% extra weapon damage, as well as Minor Endurance, which is 20% extra stam recovery. On top of that, it does give you a burst heal. The longer you have your Rally active before you reset it, the stronger the burst heal. This also can crit. Speaking of crit, I am also running Biting Jabs as my main spammable. it's also a source of major savagery, which gives you about 12% extra weapon crit, which benefits towards, critical healing and critical damage. Now for my third slot, I am running Reverse Slice. I used to run Executioner. However, I've been leaning into Reverse Slice more over the recent, over recent events. Reverse Slice allows me to clear out guards a lot quicker, but more specifically, more importantly, whenever I'm PvPing and I'm fighting multiple targets, this does let me secure multiple kills. I do have some footage demonstrating that, and you'll be seeing that here in the next couple days. But I'm honestly a big fan of Reverse Slice. It's like Steel Tornado. It's how Steel Tornado was back before it got nerfed. It's really strong, and in specific situations, it really shines. Now for my fourth slot, it is a flex. So right now I am running Repentance. Repentance can be good out there in open world whenever you kill targets, or like you're fighting a Necro and you can just heal from their corpses. But I am running it just so I can demonstrate how high your sustain can get under this build. However, if you don't feel like you need to run Repentance, or if you just don't want to run it, or if you want to run extra damage, you could always just run Carve. There are other alternatives, of course. You could run Crushing Weapon from Sigil Order, or you could run like another utility skill. It's really up to you. It's a flex slot, so that's what it's there for. It's there to give you a supplement of whatever it is you need at that current time. Me personally, I'm a big fan of Carve. The tooltip seems kind of low, but it definitely helps with pressure, and it helps kind of counter some of my targets' healing because I have a dot on them. So the pressure from that, plus my jabs, I could definitely help me secure kills. Also, of course, I am running my rune, Restoring Focus, on my front bar, which allows me to proc Septic Legion. So moving on with my front bar ultimate, I am running Breaker Smiting, which is a Fighter's Guild ultimate. Now, by having this slotted, I do get an additional 3% extra weapon damage. Also, because I'm running this on my two-hand bar, if I do a heavy attack before using Dawnbreaker, it can do an additional 10% damage. Same thing with Reverse Slice, same thing with Carve, and even biting jabs. But I mostly use it for Dawnbreaker because it lets me get that extra bit of damage in from the heavy attack, and then also the 10% bonus from follow-up, of course. Like I mentioned before, I am running 5 medium, which gives me an additional 15% weapon damage, plus a 6% from Balanced Warrior under Adric's Spear on the Templar class. So, 15 plus 6, that's 21. By having Fighter's Guild slotted, does give me an additional 3%, meaning I receive 24% extra weapon damage. And moving on to my back bar, my main CC under my back bar is Reverberating Bash. However, a good alternative to that is Binding Javelin, or even if you're brave enough, you could even run Shield Charge if you'd like. I do like Reverberating Bash because when they break the CC, they take damage again, which just helps with pressure overall. Because I am running Master Sword on board as well, I am running Pierce Armor. I'm no longer running Power to Light, so Pierce Armor is definitely the best alternative because it gives you Major and Minor Breach on your target. So 2 debuffs under 1 skill, and that definitely comes in handy. I do miss Power to Light at times, but I'm honestly really glad I made this change to Pierce Armor because it's definitely been really good to run. Now, under support, I recommend getting Combat Medic because Vigor and Extended Ritual benefit from it. Whenever you're by a keep, you receive an additional 20% extra healing done, which definitely comes in handy. It even buffs the health received from your potions, which is, I think that's pretty nutty, but yeah, it definitely comes in handy and it helps you survive, especially when you're fighting in a keep. If you're tired fighting, or if you're fighting on the inner of a keep, or what have you. I am running Race Against Time, which is under Sigil Order, which gives me a shield from the passive. But most importantly, it gives you snare immunity for 2 seconds for snares and immobilizations. It gives you Minor Force, which is 10% extra critical damage, and Major Expedition, which increases your movement speed by 30%. Now, another good alternative is Elude. You can run Shuffle too, but Elude really sticks out because whenever you take damage from a direct AoE attack, you receive Major Expedition. Also, of course, you're receiving major evasion, which definitely helps with mitigating AoE damage. But that can reset. There's no cooldown for this, so um, you can be at 5 seconds, and then you get hit by another AoE attack. Timer resets. It's back to 5 seconds. Or like you're at 4 seconds, boom, back to 5 seconds. You got 3 seconds, get hit by another direct AoE damage attack, boom, back to 5 seconds. It can reset and reset and reset, and there's like no downtime for elude. Um, However, in my opinion, it is very preference based, because there are times where you don't get hit by AoEs and elude just becomes useless. We're racing against time. Doesn't matter what you're doing. You don't even have to fight. You activate it. You get major expedition and minor force, like on command. But elude is definitely nothing to scoff at. It is a very strong skill, and I do highly recommend you guys experiment with it. I've been running both, and both have been pretty fun. Elude really becomes fun when I'm like fighting a lot of people. And speaking of useful skills that are fun to run when fighting a lot of people, Spell Wall. My backbar ultimate is Spell Wall, which is the Sword and Board ultimate. What it does, it reflects all projectiles, magicka, or stamina base back to the person who tried hitting me with it for 7 seconds. So there are times where like I would literally kill people with that ult. They'll just kill themselves with their snipes and overloads and what have you, and it definitely comes in handy for survivability, and it's honestly a lot of fun to run. Alright guys, so now we're going to go ahead and cover our CP allocation. Now I am running 44 points into Ironclad, which gives me a 17% damage mitigation for direct damage. I also am running 49 points into Resistance, which gives me extra crit resistance that I need. I am running Medium Armor Focus, which gives me about a little over 2k physical resistances. I'm very OCD with my stats, and the thing about being a Templar is you receive a little over 2,000 spell resistances, so it makes your resistance stats uneven, so you have more spell resistance than you have physical. This helps mitigate that. This does help towards your survivability. However, I also run it because I'm a little OCD, but it definitely does help with survivability. If you don't want to run that, you could always put more points into Ironclad, more points into Resistant, or any other damage mitigation CP points. Speaking of which, under the Lady, I am running 37 in the Thick Skinned, which is dot damage mitigation, but I'm also running 49 in Hardy and Elemental Defender, which gives me an 11% damage mitigation towards stamina and magicka based damage. Not just that, also by having over 120 points allocated under the Lady, I do receive the Unchained perk. Whenever I break a stun, my next stamina based ability is 80% cheaper, so you can break a CC, rally, get a rally heal, or you can vigor. Or if you want to be more offensive, you could just use an attack. However, you know, whatever suits you at the moment. And under the Lord, I am running 15 points into Quick Recovery, which gives me 4% extra healing receipt. This will definitely help cushion the healing nerf that you receive when you're in Cyrodiil from Battle Spirit. So it definitely helps get a little bit more healing out there when you're fighting. Now under stamina, I am running 51 points in Warlord and 35 points in a Sprinter. Warlord and Sprint under the tower, which gives me 19% CC break cost reduction and 20% sprint cost reduction. Now with the Lover, I did make some adjustments compared to my last build video. I'm running 56 points into Mooncalf, which gives me 12% extra stam recovery. I'm running 43 points into Healthy. This is important for this build specifically, to run 43 points into Healthy, because it lets you benefit. You get your biggest bang for your buck by running this many points into Healthy, because this build revolves around health recovery. I did remove a lot of points under Tenacity. Instead of 10% extra resource gain during heavy attacks, it's only 7% now. There's a 3% reduction, but I get a lot more health recovery. The biggest perk here is when running. It gives me 2% extra movement speed, but most importantly, whenever I'm sprinting, I receive a 10% bonus to health and magicka recovery. So you'll see here why that's very important, because you're going to see just how high the health recovery you can get under this build, and that's without the wind running perk. It can get a lot higher. So I mentioned you can receive up to 5k health recovery. That's how you get that 5k, is through sprinting. So this build really shines in open world, especially when you're kiting. Now with the last tree here under the shadow, I am running 51 in tumbling, which gives me 19% roll dodge cost reduction, and I have 7 points in a shadow ward, which gives me some cost reduction for blocking, so about 3%. Now moving on to the apprentice under the blue tree, I do have 15 points into blessed, which gives me 4% extra healing done. Also helps you kind of cushion that Foul Spirit nerf that you get from your healing. Definitely comes in handy, definitely boosts your healing overall. Now with the Atronak, I am running 81 Master at Arms, that hasn't changed, 24% extra direct damage, and 39 points in a physical weapon expert, which is an additional 22% damage for light and heavy attacks. So you definitely benefit from light and heavy attack weaving during your fights. Now, by having 120 points under Atronak, does give me the perk up above here on the left known as Tactician. So the thing with Tactician is whenever you roll dodge an attack, you set your target off balance. Now this is important. This was important under my last video because I was running Truth, Armor of Truth, so that definitely came in handy. But not just that, also under the Ritual, which you'll see here in a second, you get Exploiter, which gives you here 10% extra damage on targets that are off balance. So even if you're not running Truth, running Tactician with Exploiter is definitely recommended. That's 10%, that's free damage right there. That's 10% extra damage that you do on your targets. And how I achieve 120 plus here is I am running 49 in Mighty. It's no longer 56, it's 49 now. Gave up a percent for extra penetration. It's still pretty good. You get 11. You still do 11% more damage for physical-based attacks. I did reduce my precise strikes a little bit. It's no longer 19%. It's 17%. So 44 points into precise strikes gives me 17% extra critical healing as well as damage. And this allows me to stack a lot more into my piercing. So I am running 42 points into piercing, which gives me a little over 3k physical penetration. Also, I'm running a maul, so the penetration from the maul, the sharpen trait, and piercing allows me to do about 10k physical penetration, give or take. So definitely comes in handy, and the CP allocation is honestly rock solid. Alright guys, so now we're going to go ahead and cover the offensive buffs for this build. Starting off with Simple Major Brutality, I'm at 3.5k weapon damage. Because I am running triple robust and not triple infused weapon damage, the number is a little bit lower. So when you're running triple infused weapon damage, the damage goes up to about 3.8, 3.7, 3.8 give or take. Now with 7th Legion, I am able to achieve 4k weapon damage. With triple infused, it's going to be about 4.3, 4.2, 4.3. Under my rune for resistances, however, I am at 23k plus for my front bar, which is it's relatively decent. Now with 7th Legion as well for my sustain, I am running 1800 health recovery, and that is just with 7th Legion and Willow's Path, no Troll King or anything like that. So you already have a lot of health recovery just by being, simply buffed, just with your basic 7th Legion Major Brutality buffs. If you're running Repentance, this definitely goes up a lot more. So now we're going to go ahead and get the Berserk Glyph up and running. So I'm at 4.5k weapon damage. However, with triple infused, this is going to go up to 5k plus. The weapon crit isn't as high as it was under my previous Markarth Templar build, where it was 44%. But you're still definitely able to crit relatively often, as you can see here when I'm hitting this dummy. I just got 3 crits there in a row. So this build definitely does pack a punch. Like I said, it's not fully complete yet, so you're not seeing the full damage potential of the build, but it's definitely nothing to scoff at, that's for sure, and I guarantee you that. Alright, and here I have a friend of mine help me test out the build. So we're going to go ahead and demonstrate the full health recovery potential of this build. I am running Repentance for extra numbers. As you can see here, I'm hitting 4.5k health recovery. 4.5k. And that's without Windrunner. With Windrunner, it can easily hit over 5k. That's with Repentance. Without Repentance, you can still hit in the upper 4,000s. But I don't think you'll break 5k without Repentance. However, the build still has really high sustain even without that skill slotted. As you can see here, this guy's just hitting me with everything he has, and I'm just surviving through it. And also, that does go without saying that the resistances from this build do also have the potential of hitting 30k plus. So do keep that in mind. But what really shines in this build is its health recovery. You're running 5 medium, and you're able to hit like ridiculous health recovery numbers without running Eternal Vigor or anything like that. The only thing that really gives you a lot of health recovery is Troll King. If you don't run Troll King, you can still hit up to 3k health recovery depending on how you build, which is still pretty damn solid, especially because you're not running Troll King. You could run Balorg or more like Kina or Bloodspot, what have you, and you'll still hit like a really high health recovery number. But with the setup that I have, you can easily hit 5k plus, definitely guaranteed. Alright guys, so there you have it. That's pretty much my build video right there. So if you're looking for an alternative to Eternal Vigor, or if you're trying to run something that provides a lot of sustain, stat density, but doesn't sacrifice a whole lot of damage, if any, this is definitely a good alternative build for you. It is still pretty meta in my opinion because, like I said, the current state of the game, it's either you're running procs or you're running a lot of sustain. And this definitely falls under the latter. It allows you to maintain your 5 medium. If you're running Magicka, of course, you can still run this, and you have a lot of sustain, and you'll be able to maintain a lot of your spell pen from, obviously from running 5 light. But this is a Templar video, so I am going to work on a Magicka variant of this build, so do stay tuned. Do stay tuned, guys. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any commentary, any notes for me or anything like that, feel free to comment down below. If you like this video, obviously give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, definitely do so. It'll definitely help my channel grow and will encourage me to make more Templar PvP content, especially build videos. Yeah, it's a heavy hitting build, fat sustain. You're able to achieve 30k plus resistances, and you have a pretty good amount of penetration. So on that note, I'll be leaving you guys here. I will be making other build videos in the future, in the very near future. This is one of 3 build videos that I'm going to be releasing here within the next couple weeks, so definitely stay tuned. That being said, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys later.